Welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 70, recorded for Wednesday, January 9th, 2019. Oh, we got a lot to talk about today. I guess first and foremost, we're going to do an addendum on the last episode because I totally forgot to mention, I guess one of the most important things when watching animation is the quality of the animation. So with Goblin Slayer, it just feels so dumb to say that name. It feels terrible. It's not a... I mean, it's catchy just because it's very straightforward about what it is, but it is awkward as all get out. Kind of like the animation. Now, for the most part, the animation is rock solid with Goblin Slayer. However, one thing that sticks out is they use 3D animation for, I'd say, 50 to 75% of the titular character. Mostly in scenes where it's going to be a full body shot and he's just walking around, whereas everybody else is traditional hand-drawn animation. And it settles into like an uncanny valley where it's unnatural. Like the knees are stock straight, they're locked. The hands are always in a weird, like an open palm, but the thumb juts out position. And while it has a similar level of detail, the color and shading is different. And so it just makes it stand out. Kind of like when you watch old Looney Tunes episodes and you have all these beautiful painted backgrounds, but the one little bit that's a little bit more colorful and it just looks different. That's the door or whatever that's going to open or interact. It sticks out kind of like that. And it's something that I noticed newer anime moving towards with 3D animation. And I guess it makes sense because it would be cheaper just to produce your one character model and then not have to redraw it over and over again. However, it's not at a nice, easy... The transition's not at the point where it looks realistic enough or it's believable enough. It just looks stilted and awkward. Which ties into the bigger point of I've been watching a lot of DC cartoons, their animated movies, which are stellar compared to the live action ones they release. And one that had been released this past year was Batman Ninja, and it was a different take on Batman, headed by primarily Japanese studio. Essentially, they just got the licenses and the rights, and they're like, okay, well, we'll make a Batman movie with the plot of, all right, Batman goes to ancient Japan. What happens next? And, I mean, long story short, save you the hassle, it is a fucking train wreck. It is a doozy of a bad movie. And not from plot perspective. I mean, there's problems galore with that, but there's a stereotype that Japan likes to out crazy itself with particularly anime, and this movie just one-ups itself time after time after time after time, to the point where that it uses the 3D animation, but it has more of like a painterly effect on the character. So you have the 3D models, and it looks like then they hand drew all the details on them. So it looks goofy when, you could tell there's clear shading and shadowing happening that would have been used for one pose, but it looks off and bad in another pose. Case in point would be Batman's chin when he's got like the mask off and he's looking dead straight at the camera. It looks like he's just fucking Jabba the Hutt because his face just blends right into the neck. There's no clear delineation or difference being made between for the jawline. There's no detail there. It just looks terrible. But it's just an absurd movie. I mean, we'll give you the highlights here. Gorilla Grodd creates a device that will allow him to control minds in Arkham, but because of Batman's interference, they travel back in time into feudal Japan. Batman shows up years after the villains like Joker and Harley Quinn and Two-Face and Penguin have all kind of set up their own territories and taken over regions in feudal Japan. And They're building essentially giant fucking robots to fight one another. But, oh, surprise! It's all part of Gorilla Grodd's bigger plan where they go all Power Rangers and have the robots transform and combine into one another to make a super robot, which Batman must then stop with the help of Damian Wayne's monkey companion in a Spritle Chin Chin fashion, where they use a magic flute to summon the former monkey armies of Gorilla Grodd to form a giant monkey to fight the Power Rangers-esque robot. But that's not enough, because Grodd's robot, now controlled by the Joker, shoots flame, and we have all these magical bats coming in from the Bat Clan. And the bats and the monkeys, they transform and combine and form a 400-foot-tall Batman, which fights the Transformer robot. And it's just so bad. It's so bad. Don't get me wrong, I love giant robots and I love Batman, but, never the two shall meet, apparently. Because it's not good. Not good at all. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I had to get my thoughts out because it had been gnawing at me since the last episode. Like, you didn't talk at all about the 3D animation and how off-putting it was. So we got that out of the way. No, I teased, and now we're here to finally talk about a woman who is seemingly married and now divorced, a 300-year-old ghost pirate who may or may not have existed. This one caught my attention a few months back. Stories began surfacing around early December of last year, where an Irish woman who also happens to be a Jack Sparrow impersonator wed herself to a 300-year-old ghost. And well, I guess we'll get into it here. So, coming live off the wire from WTSP.com, Channel 10 News out of Tampa, Florida. Irish woman who married the ghost of pirate. She said she's divorcing 300-year-old husband. 46-year-old woman in Ireland says she is splitting for her husband, who is about 300 years old and was executed for piracy in the 1700s. The Irish Mirror reported that Amanda Sparrow, large Teague, who made global headlines last year for marrying the spirit of a 300-year-old Haitian pirate, is divorcing the pirate after less than a year. Mirror reported that the large posted to social media, "I will explain all in due course, but for now, all I want to say is be very careful when dabbling in spirituality. It's not something to mess with." So she got a profile where she married the ghost of Jack Teague, who she said was a Haitian pirate executed for piracy 100 years ago. Their spiritual relationship developed 3 years ago when she sensed his presence while lying in bed in Drogheda, Ireland. Teague told Newsweek that she sailed into international waters to, quote-unquote, legally marry, and that she's the first person in the UK and Ireland to marry a ghost. Without, really saying it, the legal part is, as quoted here, questionable at best. However, the dead pirate wasn't Teague's first pirate love. Newsweek said that around the time the two met in 2015, Teague was working as a female Jack Sparrow impersonator after becoming infatuated with the Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise. And to be honest, after that first movie came out, who wasn't infatuated with it? It was a lovely, fun romp. The next 5 movies, not so great, but that one, pretty rock solid. But earlier in 2018, Snopes dug into the legality of Teague's marriage and reported that her marriage to a 300-year-old dead pirate doesn't have any legal status where she lives. Snopes said Teague is fully entitled to consider herself married, but the claim that she is legally married is false. Newsweek also said it could not verify Jack Teague's existence, but according to Teague, he was hanged in 1753 after being caught helping slaves escape from being traded. On Twitter, and I do fully encourage you to go check her out on Twitter, Teague calls herself a white witch, spirit worker, author, and known for marrying the spirit of a 300-year-old pirate ghost, which at all was not a publicity stunt. She also authored a book, A Life You'll Remember, which details her fascination with the Pirates of the Caribbean and the real Jack Sparrow. Real being in quotes there. So, I mean, that sums up the bulk of it, but I did a little digging because I have free time now that I like to waste reading about silly things like this that I then subject you to. So this lady here, Amanda Sparrow Teague, or Amanda Large, added in, had her name legally changed over to Sparrow, and took her quote-unquote husband's last name of Teague. Now, it's clear that, she's a middle-aged woman who is very infatuated with the series, and, kind of like how 50 Shades of Grey took off and Twilight took off. But for her, it was Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, a little bit of backstory with Pirates of the Caribbean. We have the, big character played by Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow, whose last name was Teague. So making it Jack Teague because his father, in checking it here, what was the name? Jack Teague. I had this. Edward Teague. There we go. Who was played by Keith Richards. So that would make the last name, would make the character's full name Jack Teague. So she has an obsession with said character. Maybe it's just an obsession with Johnny Depp. I hear he's single now. So it's funny that she would fall in love with a pirate who was accused and hung of the same crimes that Jack Sparrow was accused of, and strangely enough have the exact same name. In trying to find if this pirate was actually a real fella, as previously reported, Newsweek couldn't turn up anything. I myself couldn't turn up anything in 10 minutes of furious Google searching, and my exhaustive supply of pirate books in my labyrinth-like library hold no further information. So we're just going to go with the running theory that he didn't really exist. However, she does go on with the fact that Haitian weddings, where he is coincidentally a Haitian, are legal. Let's see if we can find that here. Okay, so notably Jack Teague was a Haitian, according to Amanda, and Haitian voodoo culture allows for marriages between a living human and a spirit called an Iwa, or Iwa, I-W-A. In an interview with TV3's Ireland AM on January 18th, I would assume this is 2018, Teague said, "Spiritual marriage is absolutely huge in Haiti and is legal in Haiti. To this day, there's as many people in Haiti that marry spirits as marry physical people, and with Jack having Haitian roots, that was very interesting. That was more verification for me." But according to Karen Richmond, a cultural anthropologist and expert in Haitian culture from the Institute for Latino Studies at the University of Notre Dame, I would hate to make those business cards, voodoo spiritual marriages have no legal standing and operate at the level of symbolism. They are not recognized by the Haitian Constitution. It is a special rite of passage that very few people might go through as part of their spiritual commitment, but it's limited to the ritual domain and is not legal at all. And on the grounds of posthumous marriages, where one of the participants is dead before getting married, they are not afforded legal status, with one extraordinary exception in France. Article 171 of the French Civil Code states that the President of France can, on serious grounds, authorize the celebration of a marriage in the event of the death of one of the future spouses, provided that there is sufficient evidence of their consent. In such a case, the effects of marriage, rights and obligations relating to the marriage, go back to the day before the date of the spouse's death. But as such, her marriage isn't valid anywhere except in her mind. Even despite going out to international waters where she refuses to provide coordinates, there's no legal standing in any country that would recognize her marriage as actually being legal. Those problems aside, she's decided to marry, divorce him for other reasons. There was only one instance where I could find anything besides that main quote. And I'm trying to... Yeah, so she just has that main quote of, I'll explain all in due course. For now, I want to be very careful in dabbling in spirituality. It's not something to mess with. I wish I could find where that... Was it the New York Post? We're going to go dig in here. This one stuck out, though, because when she met him and, he just popped up in her bed. I told him I wasn't really cool with having casual sex with a spirit, and I wants to make a proper commitment to each other. Large, who is now based in Belfast, told the Irish Mirror. I wanted the big traditional wedding with the white dress. It was very important to me. It wasn't that one. Boing, boing. No. And that's the thing. Like, every one of these articles is like a paragraph at most, because there's really no story here. She's just digging for popularity. But essentially, the gist was that he ended up being a dark spirit that was only using her to take her energy. Yeah, I can't find it. I read it, but I can't find it. And all my links are purple. They're all purple. But I guess, she had standards. She wasn't just going to, start sleeping with ghosts willy-nilly. So we have to respect her for doing what she felt was right and marrying a man that may or may not have been real and embodied her fantasy before, succumbing to his ghostly wiles. It's unfortunate, though, that he was just using her, as so many, ghost pirates do. But yeah, definitely check out her Twitter profile. It's a lot of self-grandizing and trying to tout herself, how wonderful she is, and really trying to catch a wave to fame and fortune, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Friday, tomorrow, we have a listener suggested piece that we're going to dig into. And if you have your own stories to submit, or any comments, criticisms, concerns, questions, complaints, or otherwise suggestions, drop an email. theunwashedasses@gmail.com. theunwashedasses@gmail.com. And as always, if you want to support the show, just tell a friend. Let them know, hey, you like podcasts, right? We got this one here. When it's not gloomy and all depressing, it's talking about fucking anime and fucking ghost pirates, apparently. But if you want to take it a step above, then we always appreciate support over at patreon.com/0and09. ZEROAND09. Pitch in a buck or two. That always helps things going. But until then, we continue hunting for an outro.